David was a quiet man who loved nature very much. He worked as a wildlife researcher in a small town surrounded by thick forests. Every day, he would go into the woods to watch animals and learn about their habits. He liked being alone in the forest because it was peaceful and full of life. The birds, the trees, and the soft sounds of nature made him feel calm and happy. One evening, David was walking through the forest, checking the places where he usually saw owls and other night animals. The sun had just gone down and the sky was dark, except for the stars twinkling high above. He used a small flashlight to find his way, but also relied on his knowledge of the paths. As he moved deeper into the trees, he suddenly saw something strange. Bright, colorful lights flickered between the tall trunks. They were not the usual fireflies or lanterns that campers used. These lights moved in a strange way, sometimes fast, sometimes slow, and sometimes they disappeared and reappeared. David stopped and looked carefully. He felt a mix of curiosity and caution. He knew the forest well, but he had never seen anything like this before. Slowly, he walked toward the lights. The closer he got, the clearer he saw the source of the glow. To his surprise, there were small figures standing in a clearing. They were not animals or people. They looked like children, but different from any children David had ever seen. The children had big, round eyes that shined softly, and their skin glowed faintly under the moonlight. Their bodies were smaller and thinner than human children, and their movements were slow and careful, as if they were scared or confused. David's heart beat faster. He had always dreamed of seeing something extraordinary in the forest, but this was more than he had imagined. At first, the children did not notice David. They huddled together, whispering in a language he could not understand. David stayed very still, not wanting to frighten them. He thought about what to do next. Should he run back and tell someone? Or should he try to help them? David's kind nature won. He decided to approach slowly, speaking softly. "Hello," he said gently. The children looked up, startled. Their eyes widened even more, and they stepped back as if afraid. But David did not move closer too fast. He sat down a few feet away, showing them he meant no harm. He took out some water from his bag and placed it on the ground near them. The children looked at it curiously but did not touch it. David realized they might not know what water was or how to drink it. He tried to smile, hoping they would feel safe. Then he slowly showed them how to drink by taking a small sip himself. After a while, one of the children reached out and touched the water carefully. David was happy to see this small sign of trust. The children began to relax a little and made soft sounds, trying to communicate. David listened carefully but could not understand the words. He guessed they were lost or in trouble. David knew he had to help them, but he also knew it would not be easy. The forest was full of dangers at night. Wild animals, cold weather, and people who might not be kind if they found the children. David made a quick plan. He decided to build a small shelter where the children could stay safe for the night. Using branches and leaves, he created a simple but strong place to protect them from the cold and rain. He also gathered some food from his backpack, nuts, fruits, and some bread. The children looked at the food with curiosity. David offered it to them slowly, and one by one they began to eat. Watching them eat gave David hope. Maybe they would survive until help came. David sat by the shelter all night, keeping watch. He thought about how the children might have come to Earth. Were they from a faraway planet? Had they traveled a long distance alone? He did not have the answers, but he promised himself he would do everything to protect them. The night was long and quiet, except for the soft sounds of the forest. David felt a strange connection with the alien children. Even though they looked different and spoke another language, their eyes showed fear, hope, and trust, feelings that any living being understands. When the first light of morning appeared, David felt tired, but happy. He had taken a big risk by staying with the children in the forest. If anyone found out, he could be in trouble, but he did not care. To him, saving these innocent lives was more important than anything else. David knew this was only the beginning of a long journey. He needed to learn how to communicate better, find a way to keep the children safe, and figure out how to help them return home. But for now, he was glad he had found them and that they had survived the night. This night changed David's life forever. He had met something that few humans ever would, a chance to help beings from another world, and he was ready to face whatever came next, no matter the danger. David woke up early the next morning. The first rays of the sun were shining through the leaves, making the forest look bright and warm. The alien children were still sleeping safely inside the shelter he had built for them. David felt a strong sense of responsibility. He knew that helping these strange children was very risky, but he also knew he could not leave them alone in the forest. David thought about the dangers. If someone found the children, people might become afraid or angry. They might call the police, the army, or even scientists who would take the children away and study them like objects. David did not want that to happen. He wanted to protect the children and help them return home safely. He decided to keep the children's existence a secret. David was careful not to tell anyone where they were or what he had seen. He knew that most people would not believe him or might think he was crazy. So, he had to be very smart and careful. David spent the morning collecting food and water for the children. He knew they needed to eat and drink to stay healthy. He also thought about how cold the nights could be. The forest was a dangerous place, especially for small, fragile beings like the children. So, he collected soft leaves and moss to make their shelter more comfortable. Throughout the day, David watched the children closely. They looked weak and tired, but they also showed curiosity about their new surroundings. The children did not speak any human language, but they tried to communicate in their own way. Sometimes they pointed at things, sometimes they made soft sounds. David tried to understand them by watching carefully. He tried using simple gestures. For example, he smiled and waved his hand, hoping to show friendliness. He pointed to himself and said, "David." The children repeated the sound carefully, and he felt happy that they were trying to connect. David also noticed something unusual. The children seemed to have special abilities. One of them touched a small cut on David's finger, and after a moment, the cut looked like it was healing faster than normal. This surprised David very much. He wondered what other secrets these children might have. While David was learning more about the children, he also faced many challenges. He had to keep them safe from wild animals like wolves or snakes. He made sure the shelter was strong enough to protect them. He stayed close, ready to scare away any danger. But the hardest challenge was hiding the children from other people. David lived near a small town where many people enjoyed hiking and camping in the forest. He had to be very careful when he went, to collect food or water so no one would see him carrying strange things. At night, David kept watch by the shelter. He stayed awake for hours, listening to every sound. The forest could be scary at night, with strange noises and moving shadows. But David never left the children alone. He knew they needed him. Sometimes David felt very tired and scared. He thought about what would happen if he failed. What if someone found the children? What if they were taken away? But he did not give up. He kept reminding himself that helping the children was the right thing to do. As the days passed, David and the children slowly built trust. The children began to follow him when he moved around the forest. They seemed to feel safer with him. David was careful to keep their movements hidden from the town. One day, David tried to teach the children simple words in his language. He pointed to a tree and said, "Tree." Then he pointed to himself and said, "David." The children repeated the sounds with effort. David smiled and felt hopeful. Maybe they could learn to communicate better. David also learned from the children. They showed him their own way of speaking with sounds and light signals. Sometimes they made small glowing shapes with their hands. David realized their language was very different, but beautiful. While David was busy caring for the children, the forest around him seemed more alive. The wind whispered through the leaves, the birds sang, and even the stars at night felt like they were watching over them. David felt lucky to be part of this secret world, but danger was never far away. One evening, David heard voices and footsteps near the edge of the forest. He quickly hid the children deeper in the trees and stayed silent. People from the town were searching, maybe looking for a lost animal or checking the area. David's heart beat fast, but he stayed calm and kept the children safe. David realized that keeping the children hidden would become harder with time. He needed a better plan. He thought about finding a place far from people where the children could live safely, but he did not know where to go or how to do it. Despite the challenges, David felt proud of what he was doing. He was risking his own life for beings who needed help. It was not easy, but it was important. One night, as David watched the children sleep, he felt a deep connection with them. They were not from his world, but they were innocent and scared, just like a child lost in a big city. David promised himself that he would do everything to protect them, no matter what. David's life had changed completely. From a quiet wildlife researcher, he had become a secret guardian of alien children. He knew the road ahead was full of danger and uncertainty, but he was ready to face it. This part of the journey taught David about courage, kindness, and the power of trust. He had learned that helping others, no matter how different they are, can change a person's life forever. Days turned into weeks as David spent more time with the alien children. The bond between them grew stronger with each passing day. Though they could not speak the same language, their connection went beyond words. David learned to understand their feelings through their eyes, their gestures, and the small sounds they made. The children began to feel safer and more comfortable around David. They followed him when he moved through the forest and trusted him to bring food and shelter. David watched them closely and noticed that they were growing stronger. Their bright eyes held a new spark of hope, and their fragile bodies seemed healthier. David also noticed more unusual things about the children. They sometimes showed abilities that amazed him. One child could make small objects float gently in the air, while another could heal small cuts or bruises almost instantly. These powers were unlike anything David had ever seen. They were a reminder that these children were truly from a world very different from his own. But these special abilities also made David worried. What if someone else saw these strange things? What if the children were discovered by people who would not understand or be afraid? David knew the risks were growing bigger. Meanwhile, strange things started to happen in the forest. Other people in the nearby town began talking about strange lights and noises coming from the woods. Some said they saw strange figures moving between the trees. The rumors grew, and soon local authorities increased their patrols around the area. David felt the pressure. He knew it was only a matter of time before someone found the children. He became more careful and even hid the children deeper inside the forest where no one would easily find them. But the fear of being caught was always in the back of his mind. Despite the dangers, David was determined to protect the children at all costs. Every day he taught them simple words and gestures. They tried their best to repeat his sounds and mimic his movements. Slowly, David could communicate better with them. The children also taught him their own language, made of soft sounds and glowing signals from their hands. It was a beautiful, quiet way to speak, full of light and warmth. David realized the children were not just helpless beings. They had their own stories, their own memories, and their own wisdom. He wished he could understand more about where they came from and why they were here on Earth. The forest, once a place of calm and peace, became a place filled with worry and tension. David spent many nights awake, listening for any signs of danger. The children would sometimes wake up scared, and David would comfort them, whispering softly to calm their fears. One evening, a strong storm came through the forest. The wind howled, and rain poured heavily. David hurried to the shelter to make sure the children were safe and dry. The storm was fierce, and the shelter shook in the wind. David stayed with the children all night, holding them close to protect them from the cold and fear. During that long night, David thought about how much his life had changed. He remembered the moment he first found the children, alone and frightened. Now they trusted him and needed him like a family. David felt proud, but also worried. The storm was a reminder that nature was unpredictable, just like the challenges they faced. As the days passed, David tried to find a way to keep the children safe from the increasing attention of the town. He thought about moving them to a place far away, somewhere no one would look, but he did not know where to go or how to move them without being seen. One afternoon, David saw a group of people with cameras and equipment entering the forest. They were looking for the strange lights and creatures that had been reported. David's heart raced. He knew he had to act quickly to protect the children. He guided the children through a hidden path deep into the forest, away from the people. The children held onto his hands tightly, trusting him completely. David moved silently, his eyes scanning every shadow and sound. It was a dangerous journey, but David was determined to keep them safe. After many hours, they reached a quiet place, surrounded by tall trees and thick bushes. David thought this could be a new home for the children, at least for now. He helped build another shelter, stronger and more hidden than the first. That night, as the children slept peacefully, David looked up at the stars. He wondered about the children's home, what kind of world they came from, how they lived, and if their families missed them. David wished he could find a way to send them back home. But he also knew he could not do it alone. He needed help, but who could he trust? If he told anyone, the children might be taken away, or worse. David felt lonely, but hopeful. He believed that kindness and courage would guide him. This part of the journey was full of challenges and lessons. David learned that love and trust could cross any boundary, even between different worlds. He saw the children not just as aliens, but as beings with feelings and hopes, just like humans. David's life was no longer just about research and quiet walks in the forest. It was about courage, sacrifice, and hope. He was ready to face whatever. Dangers came next because he knew that helping the children was the right thing to do. The forest was quiet and dark as night fell. David knew this part of his journey was the most dangerous. The search teams had started coming closer to the hidden places where the alien children stayed. He could feel the pressure growing, and his heart was heavy with worry. David had to be very careful. One night, he heard voices and the sound of footsteps nearby. People with flashlights were walking through the forest looking for something. David knew they could find the children if he did not act fast. His mind raced to find a plan. Without wasting a moment, David gently woke the children. He spoke softly, trying to calm their fears. The children, though scared, trusted him completely. They gathered quickly, following David as he led them through a secret path he had found during his many days in the forest. The path was narrow and filled with thick bushes. David moved slowly and carefully, holding the children's hands and guiding them through the darkness. His eyes scanned every shadow, watching for dangers. The forest was alive with sounds, twigs breaking underfoot, owls hooting, and the wind whispering through the trees. But David kept his focus on the path ahead. After what felt like hours, David found a hidden clearing surrounded by tall, strong trees. There, partly hidden under leaves and moss, was the strange spacecraft he had discovered before. It was old and looked like it had been waiting for the children to return for a long time. David felt a mix of emotions. Relief, hope, and sadness filled his heart. He knew this was the moment to help the children go back to their home, but at the same time, he was afraid. What if someone saw them? What if he lost the children forever? He gathered the children close and showed them the spacecraft. The children's eyes lit up with hope and excitement. They moved carefully, touching the smooth metal of the ship and making soft sounds that David could almost understand. It was clear to him that this ship was their way home. David helped the children board the ship. They moved with grace, their small hands pressing buttons and controls that David did not recognize. The ship glowed softly, filling the clearing with a gentle light. David stepped back, watching as the children prepared to leave. Before the ship's door closed, the children turned to David. They made a strange, glowing shape with their hands. David felt warmth and gratitude from them, even though there were no words spoken. It was a silent thank you, full of meaning. Then the ship slowly lifted off the ground. David watched as it rose higher and higher into the sky, until it disappeared among the stars. The forest was quiet again, but David's heart was full. He had helped the children return home. As the night settled, David noticed something left behind. Near the place where the ship had stood was a small, shining device. It looked like a smooth stone, but glowed softly with colors he had never seen before. David picked it up carefully. Suddenly, the device began to glow brighter. David felt a gentle warmth spread through his hands and up his arms. He realized this was a gift from the children, a special tool, a symbol of their thanks and friendship. David knew this gift was extraordinary. It had powers to heal and protect. He thought about how this device could help people and make the world a better place. It was a reminder that kindness and courage could bring unexpected rewards. Though David had lost the children, he felt their presence with him. He promised himself to keep their secret safe and to use the gift wisely. His life had changed forever because of the children and the trust they had shared. In the days after, David returned to his quiet life, but he was not the same man. He carried with him the memory of the children and the hope that one day kindness could connect worlds, no matter how different they might be. David's story became one of courage and love, a story of a human who risked everything to protect innocent lives and was rewarded in a way no one could have imagined. After the children's ship disappeared into the night sky, David stood alone in the quiet forest clearing. The stars above seemed brighter than ever, as if they were shining just for him. The small glowing device left behind in his hands felt warm and alive. It was a gift, a symbol of gratitude from the alien children he had protected. David knew this moment was special, one he would remember for the rest of his life. Back at home, David studied the device carefully. It was unlike anything he had ever seen. It glowed softly with colors that changed and shifted like the waves of the ocean. When he touched it, he could feel a calming energy spreading through his body. He tried to understand its powers, and soon he noticed something incredible. Small cuts on his hands began to heal quickly when he held the device close. David realized this was not just a simple object. It was a tool that could heal and protect life. He felt honored and amazed. This gift was more than just a reward. It was a sign that kindness and bravery were important, no matter where someone came from, even from another world. For weeks, David kept the device safe and secret. He did not tell anyone about the alien children or the ship. He knew that if he spoke about it, many would not believe him. Some might even try to take the device away. So he chose to keep the story to himself, carrying it quietly in his heart. David returned to his work as a wildlife researcher, but his life had changed. He saw the world differently now. He understood that there was more to life than what meets the eye. The forest, the animals, the stars, everything seemed connected in a beautiful way. He used the device carefully to help small animals and plants that were sick or hurt. He healed injured birds and cared for plants struggling to grow. Word slowly spread among the local people about the man who could heal nature. But David never revealed the true secret behind his abilities. Though David missed the alien children deeply, he felt a deep sense of peace. He knew they were safe, back home where they belonged, and he was proud that he had risked his life to protect them. Sometimes at night, David would look up at the stars and wonder if the children were watching from far away. He imagined their happy faces and hoped that one day they might meet again. David's story remained a secret, but it inspired him to live with kindness, courage, and hope. He believed that anyone could make a difference by helping those in need, no matter how big or small the act. Through his experience, David learned that true bravery is not about fighting or winning, but about caring and protecting. It is about risking everything to help others, even when the future is uncertain. The glowing device stayed with David, a reminder that extraordinary things can happen when someone chooses to do good. It was a symbol of friendship between two very different worlds, a human and alien children, connected by trust and love. David's life was forever changed, and though few knew his secret, those who did believed in the power of kindness and the magic of the universe. And so, the story of the man who risked his life for alien children ends with a message. Sometimes, the greatest rewards come not from what we gain, but from what we give.